gentlemen, welcome to episode 276 of Joshua Kemble's live stream. Joshua Kemble's me. I've been an art director for about 8 years. I have been a professional graphic designer for 20, going on 20 plus years. I've been professional illustrator for about 20 years as well. And when I'm not working on illustrations, graphic designs, or art direction, what I'm working on is making comics. And when I'm making comics, I'm making cool, awesome comics for you. So I've worked on, I have 2 graphic novels that are currently out, Jacob's Apartment and 2 Stories. If you guys are interested, let me know. Not let me know. Pick up my books, support my books. If you haven't yet, before we get into the content, we're going to be making comics tonight, but make sure you hit like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. Should be a fun one today. I'm actually pretty excited about it. I think that we're going to be talking about the Meetup, how to meet up with Jim Lujan and Paul Pate, as well as Paul Pate's brother, Chris Kawagiwa, made a little guest appearance. It was a fun artist meetup to be had. I'm opening up a mango cart or a mango chelada. I'm gonna try a michelada today. Did you hear that? It sounds wonderful. Sounds like we have somebody in the comments section. We got Frank Salazar. How's it going, Frank? How you doing, buddy? So tonight what our goal is going to be to work on Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. We are roughing out page, let's see here, 78. So strap in. We got our new intro music. Frank, let me know if the music was conflicting. I know like the last time I used this at the intro, it was like cutting into my vocals. And so hopefully you can hear what I'm saying with that playing in the background. And that being said, that was our wonderful intro music. I hope you guys like it. Nice. Frank said that music rocks. That's cool. Thank you. I made that music. That was my little intro theme. So, yeah. I just thought it's going to be nice to get pumped up for these live streams because we have a really active, fun community. And what's with this boring intros? We need some rock and roll. Frank said it sounds good. The audio's good. Great. This Modelo's good. It's mango and chili. And I'm going to share a little bit before we get into comics. I'm just going to recap the meetup a little bit, and then I'll talk about it while I work on comics. But needless to say, it was pretty fun. Like this Saturday, Jim Lujan met up with Paul Pate in like Huntington Beach area. Paul was coming up from Michigan to hang out with his brother, who's an awesome guy as well. And they were going to meet up with Jim, and then they reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to meet up with us? I know it's kind of a long drive. And for me, it's like really exciting because I used to live in Huntington. There was a brief period of time where I lived in Huntington Beach, even longer period of time where I lived in Long Beach. So that whole area, that whole stretch of PCH from like Long Beach to HB all the way to like Laguna College where I used to teach. It's like, I love that area. I will say, being a SoCal guy, I never quite understood or got along with most people who lived in Orange County. It's one of those weird moments where people would come up to you and be like, what's up, brah? And I'm like, we don't say brah. No, I'm not an article of women's clothing. Thank you very much. But, it's like that weird kind of SoCal, like there's different branches of SoCal. There's Orange County and there's LA County. And if you grew up in LA County, Orange County people can be a little strange. However, that being said, I did marry an Orange County person. So my wife grew up in Orange County. So, yeah, what can you do? Anyhow, the point being, I jumped at the opportunity. It sounded like a lot of fun. I ended up, I don't know if I have Paul's books. Okay. I must have put them somewhere else. Anyhow, I got Paul to... Oh, I do have them. Let me grab them. Hang on. So I ended up getting Paul to sign my my Detective Perez books because he's a good dude. So there's a Paul Pate signature. This one's got a gun with a flag, and then this one has a really nice kind of caricature, I thought, of me, which I thought was really funny. So anyhow, so there we go. We have the Paul Pate stuff. Vic said good save before she kills you regarding the Orange County thing. No, but even she'd agree. Like the Orange County scene is like it's a mix. There's a lot of great people up there, and there's a lot of people who just weird me out. um, let's see here. Nice. And then Frank was saying, assigned to Detective Perez. Yes, it's going to be worth millions. But those are really good books. I will say, I haven't met Paul in person, but I had the same prior to this. And I had the same experience meeting Paul that I had meeting up with Corey and Scott and Jim. These guys that I've been friends with online for a while. Turns out we have like a pretty good group of just like decent people. So I'm going to share a few images, and then we'll kind of get into this. uh, oh, Frank was saying, did the movie go to their head like the OC kind of thing, the TV series? Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get too heavy into the Orange County versus LA County thing, but I just will say it's just different aesthetics, like just a different framework. Even when I was teaching at Laguna, it was always weird because I'd be teaching like a kid who like his parents bought him like an Audi, and like a brand new Audi, and he'd be all pissed off. He'd be like, "My parents bought me an Audi, and I wanted a Beamer." I'm like, I don't relate to you at all. That's more kind of the type that I didn't relate to. However, I will say in Orange County, there's a lot of really cool artists. And actually, my favorite art store is in Westminster, and it's called Art Supply Warehouse, and that is literally one of the best art stores in the world. Run and owned, like family operated, really really sweet people. So again, it's like Orange County's not all bad, but and also they have the best hamburger in the world, TK Burger. Hopefully, Paul ended up trying that. But anyhow, I'll just share a few pictures, and then we'll get into making comics. So it wasn't like the most insane thing, you know. We met up at Golden Road, so there you go. This is what Jim and I had. We had a like I can't even. I think it was like a mango cart with chamoya and delicious, delicious. It was like watermelon chamoya, which is really good in beer. If you guys haven't tried that, it's pretty amazing. Just as like a rim coat, you know. We hung out at Golden Road. We all met up there, and it was awesome. We had a great conversation. Paul's great in person. He's just a really good guy. His brother's really cool too. His brother makes like custom cars and stuff. It's really really pretty awesome. Um, his brother makes cars out of nothing. So he like built this car that looked like a Dodge Viper at like just fabricated out of nothing, which is awesome. And it's funny because as we were all kind of talking, he would be like, "Oh, I'm not really an artist or anything, but I kind of relate because I do this thing with my car." And then we find out he like fabricated the body of his car by like with like cardboard and fiberglass, and it's like, no dude, you're kind of doing art too. Anyhow, so then we've got while we were there, it turns out I just messaged Caligula because Caligula lives a little bit close to there, and was like, "Hey, if you're in town, you know, just so you know, we're meeting up at Golden Road." Um, and guess who stopped by? Chris Caligula with his baby daughter and Christina, his wife. And that was pretty incredible and cool. And it was great to see Chris. Chris is a friend of mine from school, and what was cool was also the location was like right across from Harbor House Cafe, which was like this really cool cafe on PCH. Very kind of interesting. Like I had a feeling that Jim would really dig it, because it's like a weird, just kind of small diner that's just lined with like memorabilia, like on the walls, like movie posters and stuff like that. It's all wood, like wood walls and stuff like that. And it turns out Jim did enjoy that, because after we kind of met up with Chris, he came by and said hello. We got to meet his adorable daughter. We went to Harbor House Cafe, and Harbor House Cafe was awesome. And yeah, it was just an incredible kind of meetup and hangout. A lot of fun, goofy conversations were had and stuff like that. And then we went. There's this little trick if you ever go to Harbor House in Huntington, where you can walk down to what's a private beach, but nobody really respects the privacy of the beach. And it's just like a short walk down and check out the ocean. So this is all of us hanging out at the ocean. Overall, good times were had. Great conversations were had. A lot of conversations about art, about kind of the struggle of making art, and that was Saturday. And then Sunday, I basically did like Father's Day stuff, and then today, got home from work and was exhausted and kind of took a nap, and now I'm gonna work on finishing up the roughs. So I'm a little behind on the comic, but I feel like it was worthwhile to take a day or two off, like to reset and to kind of get back in the zone. But I will tell you, yeah, Chris was, Frank was saying Chris's daughter has gotten big. I remember when Chris was making the Grogu pram. Yeah, exactly. Time goes quick, man. It's nuts. Um, let's see. Vic was saying, my parents gave me a fourth generation hand me down. Shut up, you rich mother. Regarding the Laguna kid. No, and like I grew up, like I didn't even get a car when I was a kid. I was carless, like for a really long period of time. So it was always kind of weird to kind of make that work. Holly said, "Dang, you're awake early." Well, the problem is I took a nap and then I slept a little too late. So now I'm going to be up for a couple hours to kind of finish up the rough, finish what I started. It's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. Um, so yeah. So anyhow, it was a good meetup. I can't say enough like how much I value this community. I have talked about how I like our comics community because it's not toxic. Like there's a lot of comics communities all over the place online and stuff, but most of them get into like this whole stuff of like buy my comic because it's not woke and like start fighting each other, or or they start or like they're super snobby. Like there's definitely a lot of like weird kind of indie cartoonists that are like, what we're doing is art with a capital A. And again, I'm kind of more on that side of comics, but it's just like I don't like being a pretentious dick. And so it's it's neat to have a group of people that are just like down to earth, like cartoonists that are just sincerely in love with the art form, and we all kind of hang out. And group of, I should say, cartoonists and animators. Um and so it's like my joke is that I'm the most toxic of our group, and I'm not super toxic. So but yeah, like, so what's neat about that, the other byproduct of that is like these are people I've known for years, and I can meet up with, and like I feel comfortable having my family around, you know. Like and that's a valuable thing to have online, and also just a valuable kind of organic community to grow, because like it's funny, even Chris knows um Jim through other things too. So like Jim and I have known each other for like, gosh, like it must be like 20 years now or something. Just kind of tangentially through different connections and stuff, because Chris is really connected with a couple comic book shops in Orange County, and those comic book shops have like Javier goes to signings and does stuff. Rafael Novera like hangs out, and so Raf and Hav and Chris like know each other pretty well. Anyhow, it's like this weird interconnected web of people. But my point is, it's awesome to have gotten to a point in my life where I have a community of artists that I know that are kind of scattered in like different states and stuff like that. But if we ever met up at a con, it would be like the funnest people on the planet to hang out with. And we can plan vacations and hang out and stuff. um, Yeah, Vic was saying 20 years. Dang, you guys are old. We are beyond old, my dude. it's it's the point where like yeah, I mean, yeah, we're at that point where like we actually have to have careers and all that fun stuff. And then some of us have them creative careers, which is awesome. But yeah, getting it creeps up on you, kind of like my friend's kid. It's just like she she was tiny, like what feels like a blink ago. Like I blinked my eyes and it was like a kid, and it's like now she's like a much bigger kid. And the next time I meet up, she'll probably be like a teenager. And you know, talking about what colleges she's gonna go to or something. It goes quick, man. But we make comics, we make art, and we make stuff, and that's kind of the common bond we have, is that we're all making stuff. All right, we need to get into art. So anyhow, if you have any questions or anything like that about the meetup and how that went, let me know. I can tell you guys, like, Paul is a really good guy in person. Very charming, very hilarious. And yeah, that's that's all I have to say. All right, so let's get into our stream. And this is as many thumbnail or roughs as we have. We have the thumbnails worked out on Blue Line. And so what I was going to do is go ahead and finish up this page that I started 2 days ago. And honestly, I shouldn't be taking this long on roughs, but again, it was like Father's Day and a hangout. And I think those are important things to kind of reset for an artist anyway. We can't just hovel in our little hobbit holes. Now I'm back in my hobbit hole and I feel good about being a hobbit. If you guys remember The Hobbit, the story of The Hobbit, it's like Bilbo has this like side of him, and because this is fresh on my mind because we just read this story for my son. Like we just finished The Hobbit, like reading it to him, and I had forgotten like the whole twist of like, I mean, I remembered that like hobbits are kind of curmudgeons, but it's like Bilbo has like this split personality kind of at the beginning where he's got like the Baggins side that's very reserved and stuff like that. And then he has this Took side, which is like the side of his family that was like wild. And so he has this like wild, untamed thing. And so he goes on his journey and fights a dragon and stuff like that. And then afterwards, he's like, okay, cool. I'm good. I'm going to stay in my hobbit hole for like the rest of my life. I'll just curmudgeon up. I had my adventure. And it's like that. That's kind of like, I think as artists, we need to have like little tiny adventures, maybe little trips. Maybe we don't go all the way to the Misty Mountain and fight dragons or whatever, because we're pretty much doing that in our hobbit holes. But yeah, every once in a while, like coming up for air, meeting other human beings, it's not a bad thing. Vic was saying, you guys have known each other longer than I've been alive. Nice. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Vic was saying you got to leave for it to be nice again. Exactly. But then when you get back to your hobbit hole, which is like your little creative thing, then you can go on your little creative battle. So in a weird way, we're like the reverse. We're a reverse Baggins. we're always fighting dragons, and every once in a while, it's good to kind of reset. And kind of, yeah, because I don't know. I have a video called "On Fighting Dragons" where I like to make what we're doing mythical, because why the hell not? We artists are myth makers. Anyhow, it was a good meetup. The other thing that I love is we're all really freaking goofy. And so if you guys have seen like how kind of outlandish and ridiculous like Jim and I get when we're on a stream together, we're like that in person but like tenfold. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. A lot of jokes were slung. Vic was saying, I need to head to sleep. I haven't tonight, and it's 4 a.m. Yeah, dude, if it's 4 a.m., what are you doing? That's about when I'm going to cut off. Okay. So what we had so far was we were blocking out this whole scene. I kind of don't like that the Bosco, like I want a little bit more Bosco stuff because I feel like the posters should be kind of aligned. I also feel like even though this is a rough, it'd be good to have this kind of more in perspective rather than kind of in shit spective. So I'm going to go ahead and just alter the perspective on that little bit. And then I think maybe we'll have just some kind of lettering above it just to kind of make it more interesting. Why is okay? And I don't want to use just like the good old pencil tool. I want to use this brush. So I think it'll be cool to have kind of like a maybe like a banner kind of thing. And then maybe we'll have let's see. Maybe we'll just kind of replicate like the poster too. Just so it's like clear, like no, this is like the theater entrance. It's got like, you know, some posters and stuff like that. And again, this is just a rough, but it's like it's good to like indicate those things so when it comes to finish, it won't be a like a beast to kind of or you don't end up making kind of a bland picture without the things that you need. Let's see here. Maybe we'll have this over here. And then what I want to do, so just to recap what this page is, we are finally introducing a magician character who was actually a real magician in Victorian England, who is going to be like basically on this page we have Elizabeth Barrett Browning being taken to a magic show by Robert, and then there's some subtext going on where it's kind of reinforcing the idea that like Robert is a skeptic, and that like Elizabeth kind of wants to believe in even things like magic, which is going to be a really important theme throughout the story. But it's just being reiterated here with a lot of the dialogue. Oh, nice. Yes. Yes, Frank, maybe we will show, maybe we'll watch the Bilbo Baggins song. It is legendary. If you guys haven't, I encourage you. Frank left a link to it, but Bilbo Baggins by Leonard Nimoy is incredible, and he dropped a link like a bomb in the chats. So check that out. And then that was a little creepy. He said, "Bye, Josh. I'll see you soon, real soon." That's ooh, that's a little scary. All right. So I do know that Frank has um, a uh, a workshop coming up. Frank, do you want to drop like where that's going to be for anybody who's in like the Texas area who might want to kind of come check that out? Frank's doing a zine workshop at a public library, which I highly encourage. I think that's really cool. Um, and I think Frank's a good guy to do that because he definitely has um, just, I mean, he kind of just fearlessly makes comics, and I think that's a good way to go. And he's always working on them and always kind of positive and working forward on stuff. Okay, so this was going to be the panel. This little cyan thing, that's the rough or the thumbnail, and that's going to be sort of showing them approaching the ticket booth. So basically, the first panel is like that showing the Teatro Niccolini, which is the theater they're going to. Second panel shows them kind of walking up with the ticket booth. The third panel is kind of a close up of like all the stuff about the magic show with the ticket booth kind of to the right. And then the fourth is going to be them approaching the ticket booth, and that's going to have some text. So let's get the text in there first. Okay, so this should say, on the contrary, I shall be marvelously entertained. And then here's more of that subtext. So let's see here. And it's going to say, okay, great. Okay. So I'm just looking at the text to see what I need to break up. Okay. So we're going to have it say, it in here. It's going to say, on the contrary. I want to show you guys some footage of my current fish tank so you can compare when we get the big one set up. So maybe I'll do that in a bit too. Marvelously is an interesting word. So it's, I shall be marvelously entertained. Now, a lot of people will, like, sometimes when I'm doing roughs, be like, why are you writing out all the words? Some artists won't write all the words on their roughs. The thing is, I have just found through like a lot of times of like having art or panels where I didn't do this and I just maybe made lines saying, oh, that'll be the text, and then I end up in a scenario where I've drawn more of the image than I needed to because a lot more of what the text is going to take up covers a bunch of the stuff I drew, or worse yet, I didn't allot enough space for type. And then you end up with this text that looks like squished in there. This is a real problem that you see quite often with illustrators in particular when they try to take on comics for the first time. Designers will kind of understand the idea of like leaving space for your type, but I think for illustrators we have to kind of learn that the hard way. But once you start kind of allotting it, like even if I just write it really sloppily like this, like I'm not doing actual typing of it or anything yet, it magically allows for enough space, and it also helps me to know how to block out the type by the time it comes to the final. So it helps me kind of think through like avoiding using like leaving orphans, which is like when you have like a single word on one line. And yeah, so anyhow, it's a good thing. So that's why I do this, as much as that may not sound all that exciting. Okay, and then Elizabeth is on the left, which is great because this is a crap load of type. There's going to be another big block of type on the next part, but at least this kind of works this out a little bit. And maybe this will be centered just a little bit. Okay. So that's a rough, that's just roughly working out what I'm going to do with the text. Nice. And then Frank linked to a Facebook post that's showing his the info for his Oh, nice. Okay, here we go. He said it's at the Farr Memorial Library in Texas at 2 p.m. on Saturday the 24th. Nice. So that should be a fun workshop if you guys are in that area. Okay, so they're approaching the box office in this image. So now I need to basically pull up my image of a box office that I found from that era. Where is it? We have like a whole bunch of research that we compiled on the last stream. And so that's kind of what all of this is. Here it is. Okay. And then I think that I had some... Okay, so I'm going to need this. I'm going to need the front of the location. So we're just going to pull up all the little references we might need just to give us like a rough vibe of like what we're going to be doodling here. I just have to find where everything is. So there's the Teatro Nicolini. Forgive my bad pronunciation too. This is going to be the outfit that Elizabeth's going to be rocking, and it's a Victorian outfit. And then I believe the second dude here in the center, the guy to the right, is Robert's costume on this from that era. But I really like that shows where the seams are. Even though what's weird about these illustrations, I just think somebody needs to bring back the style. You see this foot? Now check this out. Tiny feet. Boom. Anyhow, that's very funny. Okay, so let's find... I think I just need 2 more references, and then we can get into working out this next panel of roughs. So there's Elizabeth. I don't think we're going to need to see much of Elizabeth because it's not going to be a forward shot of her, but still good to have just to kind of keep her in mind. And then there's Robert. That's what Robert's face is going to look like. Okay, and we're just going to go ahead and get to our roughs. How are you guys doing? What are you guys all working on? Always fun to hear what everybody's creative projects are. Okay, so let's do our foreground kind of framing so we don't end up having to draw more than we need to on this stuff. So this is Elizabeth. She is talking to Robert, and she's going to be wearing said outfit above her. She has like really wild hair. I don't know if you can see that from up here. All right. And this is her kind of teasing Robert. Like, I don't think, she's just teasing that he's so skeptical. But like a lot of teasing, there's a subtext there because it's definitely a difference between Robert and Elizabeth is his skepticism and her kind of desire to sort of believe. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention too, Jim's friend, Charlie Rossman, was also in one of those pictures at Harbor House. He's an actor, and he ended up stopping by and hanging out for a bit. That was fun. I think it might be the second time I've hung out with Charlie Rossman, because I think there was like a Jim had a movie thing years ago. It's like years ago at a movie theater. He did like a release of one of his animations. I think it might have been Revengeance. It might have been at the Revengeance release that I saw him last time. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got Elizabeth kind of telling Robert, I think maybe she's being a little sassier here. I think her arm kind of being on her waist might make a little more sense. Okay. Again, it's just a rough. Okay, and then Robert's going to be here. He's preparing to do the ticket thing. So maybe he'll just have like a little bit of a. He's just barely kind of looking at her. But his head's a little more forward because he's about to pay for the tickets. So. And then what's cool is I believe Philip Chandler. We had this whole kind of conundrum, and I believe Philip Chandler kind of helped us out there. Where it's like I couldn't seem to find a ticket booth costume from that era, and then Philip did, which is awesome, and sent it by message to me, which is always appreciated. And I will definitely let you guys know that's one of the fun things about this live stream is if you guys find research that actually ties into the era, I am all the better for it. So, especially when it ties into the specific pages I'm working on. This theater, though, this Teatro Niccolini is really interesting. It's a fascinating building. I think I have to draw like a crowd scene in it for the next rough. But we're just kind of roughing out a lot of pages right now. So there we've got Robert. He's going to have like his hand kind of ready to yeah. Okay. And then also we need to have the hat. And I think what we did was, yeah, his hat, like the brim kind of goes down. So the hat's got like a brim that kind of goes down, not up, which is good to notice. And then we're kind of drawing the hat brim around the head rather than the head around the hat. And then this is like a relatively short. I mean, it's a tall hat, but like top hats get way taller. Isn't that crazy? Actually, that's a pretty darn tall top hat. When I was a kid, this is an interesting story. I was really obsessed with like top hats. My grandparents used to watch a lot of like Fred Astaire movies. And I remember thinking he was like the coolest guy on the planet. It was like Fred Astaire doing like dance moves and stuff like that. And I just thought he was so smooth. And I was like, I want a top hat. I think there was a movie that he was in called Top Hat. So imagine like 3-year-old me watching like on one of those, because you know it was my grandparents, so like they had a TV that was like one of those ones that you like pull the little thing to turn it on, and it goes like ping, and then like the TV kind of has to warm up, and then when you change channels, it's like tung tung, like there's a little clicker thing to change the channel, like a dial. But anyhow, I used to love going over there and watching like Abbott and Costello, or like these old movies that that they probably like watched when they were teenagers or something. But it was fun. It was fun to be to check those out. But I used to be really obsessed with like top hats as a kid for like a long time. I had like a hat collection. I used to try to acquire different hats. I don't know why. I think I just liked the formal, like, I don't know. There was something nice about like formal wear. I still to this day really appreciate like a good suit. It's hard to okay, I'm trying to find the reference that we got. It's here. It's here somewhere in these layers of references. But there was a that might be it. Yeah, this is it. Okay, good. Love it. Okay, so this is kind of a reference of what those guys might look like the page boys kind of thing. And I guess this is the usher costume. So, and then let's see if we can find the other usher reference. Got it. Okay. Okay. So now we're just gonna finish up this thumbnail, which will be, or this rough, I should say, which will be the. So this is gonna be. Let's get that building in there first. Do. Anyhow, so like today was a decent Monday. How was your Monday? I guess it's Tuesday, which is a interesting thing. But I had a decent day, you know. I'm actually really excited to get to comics though, because it's this is something that I think was discussed at our meetup or whatever. But one of the hardest things sometimes is having to be pulled away from the stuff you want to do. So as an artist, it's like you get in this zone, like for me, like for instance, right about now is where I'm starting to feel less like tight with my drawing. And and so like once you get loosened up and you're kind of making really good progress and stuff, you know, most of us, even commercial artists I know who are like, you know, working on stuff for like pay, like they're doing like client work or whatever. There's still that weird point where you have to kind of or even if you're not doing client work, you still kind of have your more commercial stuff and then you have your more RT stuff. Regardless, there's usually this point where you have to kind of stop the really fun stuff and switch gears. And that's really rough once you're kind of in the zone, you know? I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like once you're kind of making progress on your own personal work, it's really hard to stop. Um, that's probably one of the hardest things about the process. I think I want him kind of more looking at them like, hi there. There we go. Maybe he'll have like really big ears too, just for the heck of it. And then we'll have it kind of align a little more with the ushers here, right? On that lovely reference. So it seems like it's like a double thing with like a high necked thing here. And I think I'll have him maybe kind of leaning an arm here. Well, hello there. That's how he speaks. Um, yeah, but like I think that's one of the hardest things once you start really getting a good workflow and good self discipline. I think the hardest thing at first is like to develop the self discipline to like work on your comics daily, and that's where things like the 100 days of making comics are really helpful. But like once you have that discipline developed, it 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 definitely does get kind of difficult to just shut off the creative part that you have to kind of work at to get going. But that's one of the beauties of having a routine, because if you have like some self-discipline and a routine set up, then it's not as hard to stop, because you can be like, oh, but like tomorrow, after work or whatever, I'll work on the same thing. But that can be, a struggle for a lot of cartoonists. All right, so we have our ticket booth. We have our, Elizabeth and Robert in the foreground, and then let's just map out. I don't know why I turned it off. There it is. Okay, the Teatro Niccolini, and I don't think we're going to see much of that in this shot, but and this is actually one of the reasons it's good to do roughs too. Is like, man, I will watch for that tangent like the plague. See this tangent right here? That's something I will really try to avoid when it comes to the final. Okay, so we have like these kind of cool spiral pillars or whatever. I don't know why I said spiral. I think it's because it has like a little spirally thing up here. So today I was watching H3H3, the podcast. Have you guys ever seen that? Or like the web show? It's kind of more of like a bit of a drama channel, but it also like talks politics and stuff like that. But anyhow, they have this ongoing bit on there that I think is hilarious, where there's a quote, like a soundbite of Trump saying they tried to indict me, and the way he said indict sounds like a pirate. So they've been doing this on-running joke of like, they tried to indict me, shiver me timbers, and it's very funny. And it does. It's funny because I was listening to that show and I was like, that is crazy because that actually sounds like a pirate. They tried to indict me. So anyhow, not my joke. That was H3H3, but that's on my mind because I was working and I was at like literally like for a second I was like, they tried to indict. It's their joke though. I don't want to recycle jokes. I'm just saying, good podcast, good joke. On my mind. Jake Twister said that you can stomach H3H3 at this point is astounding. Yeah, I mean, I don't always agree with them, but the one I watched was an interview with a person from the red pill space getting just kind of demolished, and that was kind of fun to watch, like watching a train wreck. There's a part of my personality that, like, while I don't particularly want to make content like that, sometimes it's fun to watch. All right, so we have our Elizabeth thing here. We got some of this fun stuff happening. How's it going, Jake? How are you doing? Are you still on your internet sabbatical? Feels like an old school night gang. Big Fister was part of the coining of the night gang. If we were the Fed, Jake Twister would be like he coined our first currency. Something like that. Would that be a fair assessment, Jake? All right, so we've got all right, look at that lovely little rough. So now we just have two more roughs to go, or three more panels to rough out. The next two should go very shortly. We're at about the hour mark, so what I'm going to do is play a trailer. Nice. So Jimmy had heard it. He said that's definitely one of the great sound bites of the year. It is really funny. They tried to indict me. Nice. Jake said, I need a vector or 3 to watch any content featuring bread tubers. Direct exposure would be too hazardous. Jake said he's returned. That's awesome. I can get it though. Like some of the bread tube stuff gets really like weird, but it's still entertaining. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here is the trailer for my book, Jacob's Apartment, which if you haven't bought, what are you doing? Also, we're going to play this trailer and then we're going to come back and we're going to finish up this page. But if you haven't yet, hit that like button. If you're sitting there enjoying this content, hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds. It's right there. Right there. Okay. And what did you? I see you. Hit the like button. Okay. Here's Jacob's Apartment. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we these things we've seen and walk around breathing things. I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams. All right, and let's just do a quick re-intro for anybody just joining. So here it is. I thought it would play. Hang on a sec. Okay, now let's try. There we go. All right, you are tuning in to Joshua Kemble's live stream, episode 276. If you're just joining us, we're working on page 78 of my graphic novel for Turner Publishing called Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, which is a historical fiction graphic novel, and we're working on roughs. And I like to have this little intro music that I've made for this because it gets me pumped to kind of work and get into it. So hopefully this is making you pumped and interested in getting your work done and all that fun stuff. And if you're just joining, welcome. Feel free to comment in the chats. Feel free to super chat if you so desire to support me. And then aside from that, we're just going to kind of rock and roll and get some work done late into the night. So this is the Night Gang. I should call this song the Night Gang song. It's kind of perfect for the Night Gang. I feel like this has our vibe. Anyhow. So, yeah, let's get into it. Let's finish up these roughs. And if you guys are working on stuff, get to work. Let's do this. All right, here it is. So that was my little re-intro for everybody. Jake said it gets performative. All talk about praxis, but no praxis. Yeah, so the thing is, I don't watch H3 all the time. I usually just tune in for like kind of pretty epic things when they do them. Like there was... I don't know if you saw the one where Sam Cedar from Majority Report, which is another show I used to listen to a lot, and I don't really much anymore. But I still enjoy every once in a while, like once in a blue moon. I dig kind of hearing something from Cedar. And there's a very infamous troll that was done to Steven Crowder before the whole leak, where Steven Crowder was like challenging H3H3 to a debate, and he was like finally agreed, and and then he kind of ambushed Steven Crowder with Sam Cedar, which is like a funny internet joke because you know, the lore is that like Sam Cedar is, for one thing, like a really good debater. He's really good at debate, and he has been trying to debate Steven Crowder for years. Steven Crowder has talked a lot of crap and never like been willing to show up for a debate with Sam Cedar. And there was an event where like it was leaked that Steven Crowder, out of fear, had like ducked out of a debate with Sam Cedar like years ago. And so Sam Cedar's like constantly been bugging Steven Crowder, like, hey, just debate me, kind of debate me, bro, which is typical. It's like debate bro stuff. But anyhow, the H3H3 podcast finally made it happen. And it's hilarious because it's like the second Steven Crowder shows up, he's like, oh no, Steven Crowder, and has like a meltdown. Not Steven anyhow, so yeah, so that's sorry, he said, oh no, Sam Cedar, and had like kind of a mini meltdown. It was kind of fun to watch. And then this latest one I tuned into, so H3H3 again, I'm subscribed, but I don't watch them daily. But every once in a while they'll have something kind of epic. This one was them taking down somebody named Just Pearly Things, who is one of my least favorite people on YouTube. So it was fun to watch because it's like they just kind of asked a bunch of questions that she didn't answer very well, and so that was a good episode. But that's usually I'll tune in for those like key like big moments. You know, I think they're pretty funny though. Jimmy said, and it planned pre-recorded by Sam too, which made it more hilarious since Crowder probably checked to make sure he wasn't being tricked. Oh yeah, that's half the funny. Half the funny part of it is through it, like the whole time he's trying to pretend like that like basically Crowder's trying to pretend like throughout the whole exchange that he doesn't even know who Sam Cedar is, but at some point in their exchange, it becomes really obvious that not only does he know who Sam Cedar is, he's got his entire staff like watching the Majority Report like on loop because they knew exactly what his whereabouts were. And like basically they were like tracking him because they were afraid of that happening. And so that was really funny. That was incredibly funny. But yeah. So anyhow, that was a good time. A very good time to watch. All right, so here we go. We've got we have, that's funny that Jimmy knows exactly what I'm talking about too. It was legendary, you know. It's like internet legendary moments, you know. And I think the reason that was incredibly funny to watch with Steven Crowder in particular was like he kind of makes his money like debating people who aren't prepared for it. Like he'll just show up on like a college campus and try to like engage with like some student who's like heading to their class. And meanwhile, he has like a notebook full of like pre-planned bullet points and like he's like all prepped for the debate. Like he's probably spent like weeks like researching topics and stuff like that. And then he's randomly like showing up on the street just like going, hey, do you disagree with this? Let's debate it. And it's like nobody like it's a pretty unfair debate conditions, right? Of course you're going to look good. Like if I were to let's say I were to like invite Jake on or something, and I'm like, Jake, we're going to talk about aesthetics, and we're gonna focus specifically on the procession of the simulacra or something. And I but I challenged, like if I challenged like Jake today, and let's say I had prepped for like 4 months reading everything by Baudrillard, who wrote the procession of the simulacra, then like Jake will come on. It's like he could even be more familiar with Baudrillard than me, but inevitably I'll have the advantage in that scenario, because like you're not you're never going to look as good as somebody who's like prepped and prepared. And so like that's why those things are so that's one of the reasons it was really funny, because it was like kind of like Crowder getting a taste of his own medicine, where he didn't want to debate Sam Cedar, but it's like partially because he wasn't prepared for it, and yet he makes his money debating people who aren't prepared. Anyhow, Jake was saying, I've been in YouTube politics sphere for over a decade, and I've been fed up with it for half of it. It's just inescapable since it's flourished to the extent that the Cedar thing is unremarkable. But hey, that's me. Yeah, I mean, I don't. I enjoy it, but I don't like overindulge in it. Okay, so we've got here, we had currency. This is kind of awesome. So, friend of the show, provided Dee Dee provided the like some actual currency from the time, which was cool because I was gonna have to go down like a rabbit hole and search for currency, and she found some references for those. So I just have to kind of pull up the currency, and then other than that, I think we're good for panels 5 and 6. But yeah, there's a lot of political streams and stuff kind of bore the crap out of me. But every once in a while, there's really good ones. But I will say, I like the fact that within our community, it's pretty diverse. Like, you have a lot of differing viewpoints. Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of where you're at, Jimmy, where he was saying, I watch H3 here and there. It has its ups and downs, like almost everything. I'm mostly into drama to spice up the day. 100%. I will admit, like, I don't engage in making drama content, but I do digest myself a little bit of spicy drama content. Um, it's fun to watch, and it's definitely not healthy, but it's fun to watch. So yeah, every once in a while, that's like, I guess that would be my version of like, how some people like really enjoy watching MMA, because I've kind of had to figure this out. Like my wife can't stand watching debates. Like she's not a fan of debates. She doesn't like debating with people, which is probably good. I've definitely gotten to an age where I don't super enjoy debating with people. Like I'm not going to back away from a position quite often, but just like I don't find it as fun as I did when I was younger. Because at the end of the day, like half the time, even if you end up being right and you prove your point, you kind of walk away having burnt bridges with a bunch of people, and you're like, "Yay, I was right." It's like, what do you get out of that? Now, if you're getting a ton of views for it, and that's what you're doing, like professionally or whatever, I can see the reason to do that, and I could see myself, if I ever wanted to, like potentially going down that path. I don't think I could be as successful as it at it. But like I said, if you're kind of willing to like sit down and actually read a bunch of stuff and memorize a lot of stuff, um, you can be fairly effective at debate. But and I did take debate when I was younger, so it's like I wouldn't be entirely unprepared. But it's just not really a huge interest of mine. But it is a huge interest to watch every once in a while, and it's kind of like I don't particularly like watching MMA fights, right? I just don't. Like I had to a long time ago. I did some art for an MMA champion, like a guy who had won, I think, the heavyweight or something. Um, because he was doing a lot of stuff with the disabled veterans, which was like a client I used to do a lot of stuff for. Because I definitely kind of believe in that. Like I used to do discounted illustrations for them, so I'd still charge, but it's like it was, about a third of my regular rate, just because I believed in the cause. And so, but there was like an MMA fighter who was doing some stuff with disabled veterans, and so I had to watch a bunch of his fights to like illustrate him and find some really cool action shots. And that looks too much like a dollar bill. We'll end up like actually getting more into detail with these bills. These bills, because they're going to be using Italian currency at this point because they're in Italy. Okay, that's close enough. And this will be tickets from the ticket guy. So I always love these moments where you can sample. It's something Chris Ware does a lot, and I think it's an effective thing to do in sequential work. Oh, so anyhow, my point about the MMA thing is like even having to research it, it was like I could see the art of it, and there's like a real art, especially to the grappling. It's like it's almost like a game of chess, but it's like a physical game of chess that like that. I don't know, it's insane, but it's also like extremely high conflict and intense, and I can see why people watch it. I just, for me, it's not really my thing. Like I've never been into like physical fights. Like I, not that I haven't been in a physical fight, but it's just like I've never been a fan of physical fights. Like I just don't quite like, I don't know. To me, it's not that appealing. Even though I can understand there's like an art to it, and it's definitely one of those, sports or kind of activities where it's really hard to argue when somebody's won. Like it's pretty obvious when somebody loses quite often. Um, because it's a clear skill set and it's like a test of skills. I feel like debate to me is like that. Like I like watching a fight, like in those cases. That's like my MMA that I like to watch. I don't know why. But like for me, that's really appealing. Whereas like physical violence is just like appalling and boring. It's not boring. It's just, I don't know. It just seems brutal. I don't like watching people get hurt physically, but I don't mind seeing somebody get destroyed. You know, like like intellectually. That's the thing. That's, I don't know, and it might be because again, when I was younger, I did take debate and I was in mock trial and stuff like that. So I kind of have more of a window into the art form, whereas like I think like for instance, like had I were I to have like a background in Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something, watching MMA would be intriguing, right? Because you like know these techniques, and so you can kind of see it from like a craftsman perspective in a weird way. I feel like that's kind of my explanation as to why I occasionally will, you know, indulge in some debate, because it's like watching sparring, but intellectual sparring. Let's see here. Jimmy said, I watch. Oh, okay, wait. Helps create that drama into paper. I love UFC. I mean, again, like I can enjoy watching a fight. I'm just not. It's not like if I pick, it's not my favorite thing. But a good debate, it's like if I'm in a mood to watch a fight, that tends to be what I want to see. Let's see here. Although, again, like having to do that research did give me an admiration for it, because prior to that, I didn't even really watch a lot of fights. Okay. So now he hands the currency and then he's handed a ticket. And here I think this is not reading as effectively. I think we need actually his hand receiving it. So I need to have like a hand here kind of receiving it. And that way it'll read better with the hand in the second one. Okay. There we go. Yep. So cash is handed over. And we got our receipt. I don't think they would have had a circular cut like this. I think it would have been more square. Might just be me, but I think a circular cut like that would be awfully challenging. All right. So we are almost there, guys. Very close. Jake said, I have a mouth and I must eat slop. I'm curious what that means. That's interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to work on that very last panel. Oh, nice. Jake said slop equals drama. I do it 100% guilty. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, yeah, drama. It's too much fun. It's too much fun to watch. Yeah. Again, like in our own community, I don't really want it, and in the immediate like community that I'm a part of, because I like our art community, I don't think it needs drama. Speaking of, I'm wearing a Young and the Dead shirt that's Scott Circland. You can order those from Scott Circland, I think on Amazon. But yeah, I like our group of artists. Like I like that it's low drama, it's pretty chill, and like people don't snipe each other and do like underhanded stuff. But I have to admit, drama content is really interesting and entertaining to watch. Okay, I'm gonna play one more trailer and then we'll come back and we'll finish up this rough. All we have left is some text. You know what? Before we do that, let's at least write out what we have to have on this next panel. This is going to be quite a bit of text. Okay. So this is going to be Robert kind of expressing that he feels affinity with magicians. And actually, I think for those of us that are skeptics, you guys will relate to Robert here. I think I'm kind of inevitably a skeptic, and that tends to make me feel an affinity with magicians too, especially ones that debunk debunk BS. If you ever want to go down a fun rabbit hole, just watch clips of magicians debunking charlatans. One of my favorites was Darren Brown, the mentalist. Did a really good series where he went into like the deep south and kind of faked being like a southern preacher, just to kind of expose a lot of the kind of fakes in the area that were doing like big faith healing events and stuff. And then there's another thing, and I think the same series, where he went to this city in the US where it's like they have like a center for psychics, and he kind of incognito. I don't know if he could get away with this nowadays, but at the time he wasn't as known in the States. And so he kind of faked like he was having a documentary filmed about him because he was psychic. Now, keep in mind, he's a magician. He's not going to actually pretend to be a psychic in reality, but he was playing this character of like this gifted psychic that they're doing like a documentary on. And so he went to this like psychic institute and had them assess him. And he did a bunch of like the typical psychic tricks. And before you knew it, like the whole community was like, "Oh yeah, you're totally psychic, dude. Like, come into our fold." Um, he did a lot of exposing what is it too, cold reading too. And that was really interesting. But anyhow, okay, they are great. Anyhow, but with H3H3, I also have to say they indict me, but it's still funny to me. They tried to indict me. Okay. Great skeptics of mediums and spiritualists. Four. This is a long bit of text. Four. They know their tricks. Their rivalries. So Jake, you said you're back. Are you still knocking out some comics? Are infamous. So here we go. We've got this giant novel worth of text blocked out. Jake said he's writing and not drawing them. Nice. Are you going to collaborate with an artist, or you're just in the writing stage and then you're going to draw? Yeah, I was trying to think of like things that I like, and then okay, let me explain. I guess let me put it this way: with the drama stuff, I have to do it in really small doses because it can get really depressing. Does that make sense? It's like it can be fun, but it's like almost like you can watch the Jerry Springer show, you know, every once in a while, but if everything's the Jerry Springer show, it's just like, oh my gosh, what world do we live in? Gets kind of depressing. I saw a documentary the other day about one of the first lol cows in Germany, and it was super depressing. It was just depressing. It was just really depressing. It was like people like literally just started ruining this poor guy's life. However, he wasn't like the greatest guy. He was kind of probably a shitty person, but still just kind of horrible to see like the mob tactics where it's like, I don't know. So like things like that make me a little hesitant to like ingest the drama a little too much, because it's like, I don't know. There is like a part of it that's a bit like it's almost like comparable to like, like a crowd of people like gathering with like pitchforks, like there's a bit of that. And I think that's in most of us as human beings to like fall for that stuff. Um, like anger is just so much more addictive than like unity. And then unity over anger is like way easier to kind of navigate. Like you could test that out today, if you asked like, I don't know, if you were to like make a post today where you're like, this person's stuff is awful, I think we should all, leave a bad review or something. If you tested that out, like you'd probably get more responses than if you were to like make a social media post where you're just like, hey, I really like this book, you guys should check it out and maybe give it a good review. It's like, I guarantee one will get more people riled up and interested than the other. Yeah, yeah, Jake's right. Yeah, it was a documentary on Dragon Lord. Yeah, Jake was saying you can count your lucky stars for not being terminally online. Yeah, I mean, I try to not be. um, I do like the interwebs, but yeah, it was a documentary on him, and it was kind of like this weird thing of like the guy himself was not a good human being, but I mean, what they did to this guy, like, it's just like beyond the pale. Um, and it's insane. It's kind of insanity, you know. I think even the people who were probably involved in like the what was it called, like Dragon Quest or something, like what they were calling it. But I think even the people who were involved probably like at some point were like, maybe like 5 years later, like, what did we do? That was kind of awful. And I mean, it was an interesting documentary, but definitely like, yeah, it was kind of like, I think like shows, I don't know, there's something fascinating about that, like the human condition and like the ability for people to just kind of like demonize. I don't know, like it's really interesting. Yeah, Jake, do you think I'd be dead if I was terminally online? I don't know. I do think like I'm online a bit, but yeah, I couldn't afford to be terminally online. Okay, so we've got our Teatro Niccolini. This is them walking through. They're going to be walking into a door. And unfortunately, I need to have that reference again. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Agreed. Yeah, Jacob was saying, had Dragon Lord not had a hostility due to his pent-up rage and terrible mental health and tackled it with tact, maybe he wouldn't have had such a Streisand effect. Yeah, I mean, again, like the beast fed like it was two matches made in heaven, you know, where it's like it looked like both were kind of feeding each other. He was definitely not approaching it in the best of ways. And again, like, you know, like people, you know, who were kind of trolling the guy could definitely justify it. I mean, he was not like a good human being, right? But it's like, yeah, I still feel like there's still a level it reached. But even he went to like levels that were absurd. It's kind of insane. Kind of a weird one. Okay, so I need to find the image of... Where is it? There is a image I'm looking for here. Let's see here. Oh, there's one. There's one of the ones we needed, which is the outfit again. And then I need to find that one of Elizabeth's costume, and then we're good to go. Okay, so I think we've got all the references we need. We're set to go. So I'm going to go ahead and play a trailer. Yeah, Jake's saying, yeah, you'd be like me, mental age dialed to 80. And the world is a hellscape. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. I don't know. I know I'm enjoying this chilada, mango and chili Modelo beer. And I'm going to go ahead and put a trailer on again. Let's see here. Let's do Wordzoid. We'll be right back.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm gonna have to go with Karen Carpenter. Oh, Stu, I'm sorry. That's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm gonna go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won. Trish, you've won a copy of 2 stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take eternal sunshine out of the spotless mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish.
I was told I was gonna get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
And I'm gonna try to share something real quick, guys. Okay, are you ready? This is my current fish. I know we're gonna have a little fish break, and I'll recap an intro for anybody tuning in for the first time while we look at these lovely fish, these goofy fish. This was them getting fed this morning. Here it is, your moment of fish. Can you see that? All right. And we'll just go ahead and play this. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Some fish action. By the way, the really fat one, the one that I feel is like my pug reincarnated, is that one on the right, the bottom right. He's like insane. He's a huge, chubby goldfish. All right, and then we're going to while this is going, we're going to go ahead and do our re-intro for anybody who's just tuning in for the first time. Okay, hang on a sec. And here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are tuning in to Joshua Kemble's live stream, episode 276. We are not always watching fish videos on here. These are some goldfish that I have, which are wild fish being fed this morning. But I am working on roughs for a graphic novel, and that is basically what we're doing today, is working on roughs for Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And if you are watching, feel free to chime in the chats, hang out and super chat if you so feel like supporting this channel. Easy thing you can do too is hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. We're going to get back to drawing now that we've had our fish break. Hopefully that was interesting for you guys. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a wild tank. There's also one of the fish that we got that was like this small. I don't know what kind of fish it is, but then it's just grown. And instead of getting bigger, it just got like longer. It's like a catfish type fish. I don't know. I'd have to find out what kind, but we have a bigger tank for them that's, gonna be set up pretty soon. Because right now they're in a 10-inch, but we have a 29-inch fish tank that we're going to be rocking and setting up, which I'm actually pretty excited about. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Jimmy was saying, now I want a mango and tahini. Yeah. Look at that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's finish up our roughs. So we're going to do, basically they're just walking into a door. So I need, this is tough. Okay, I actually set up the dialogue wrong. It's not that tough. It's actually a pretty easy fix. Okay, so this is why roughs are great, because this takes no time at all to adjust. Whereas if you went to final with that, oh my gosh, can you imagine? All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm planning on trying to do live streams almost every night this week to get a lot of these roughs out of the way and get them done. And on the advice of my friend Jim Lujan, I'm kind of changing up the order a little bit. So I'm going to do a good chunk more of roughs before I get into finals, which is kind of cool, because if you're a fan of what I do, this gives you like a little sneak peek into like what the book is as it's being made. And so you'll be able to get a little further in the story, which is pretty cool. So this is going to be them walking into, you know what? This is Victorian England. This is his wife. So I think what I'm going to do is have him actually opening the door for his wife. That's what we're going to do here. Okay. And again, he's got that like kind of tipped brim hat. I think here he's going to be opening the door with his have him kind of holding the door for her. Do. Exciting times, guys. Roughs. I do enjoy working on roughs. They're very fun. That sounded really sincere, didn't it? I do enjoy this process that I am doing. How are you guys doing? Yeah, but those fish have gotten really big. So I had to clean that tank on Saturday or Sunday. And it's a bit of work, but like I have to admit, like there's something really strangely addictive about taking a fish tank that's a little cloudy, needs to be cleaned, and then you clean it up and it's like clear as day. And I could swear they're actually really happy about it. Okay, and this should pleat in a little more. And then we're going to have Elizabeth, who's going to be here. I need her. Is this it? Yes, good. I just need to see her dress for a little bit. There. Nice. Jake said writing idea synopsis currently for some horror stories. Nice. Later, it's straight to my body horror comedy. Nice. Horror is a genre at some point I'd like to do. There's a little bit of suspense in this story, but this isn't like a full out horror story. Kind of want her looking at him. Again, these are just I always keep this is a little tip, but when I do roughs so that I don't get into too much detail, I like to kind of keep the pencil tool that I'm using like pretty thick. So it's like I'm not able to get as much detail as I'll be able to on the final, because I'll allow myself to get a little bit thinner with my line on the final. But I feel like that's really good because it helps you you know, she's going to be kind of holding her skirt up a little bit. It's because women had these gigantic skirts like back in the day. They're like these huge things. So her legs would be somewhere around here. So that's what we'll do. Okay, and this is going to be a double door, I believe. So we can take this visibility off. There we go. Yeah, it's a double door. Nowadays, I guess where this Teatro Niccolini was, it's now actually a cafe in there. I think the theater still exists, but at the old entrance, I believe they have like this cafe thing. It's kind of interesting because they don't have a ticket booth there. So we've speculated that maybe they would have had a ticket booth. Ticket booth's going to be here now, kind of more in the foreground. Ba, 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 ba. So I'm curious what you guys think of the intro music. Do you like it? I was pretty pumped on it. I tracked that out on guitar and laid out the bass and stuff for it. I even did a little I don't even know what it's called, but it's where you like drag the pick on the strings to make that like I don't even know what that's called, but it's fun. It's like a punk rock like pick slide, I guess. Nice. Jake said intro's hype. I like that. So we're almost done for the night, which is kind of incredible. I thought this was going to be much longer. You guys can quote me on that in like an hour when I'm still working on it. I mean, Jake, you've been watching my, Night Gang streams for a long time. How often do I say, "Oh, this will be done really soon," and that actually happens? Okay. Nice. Jake was saying maybe create hour mark interlude tracks for them to continue where the intro leaves off, but getting more intense. Nice. It's actually a really good idea. Yeah, and I'm probably going to overplay it quite a bit now that I have one. I mean, technically, I could like pre-record a theme that would be like an intro theme or something, but I feel like I want to keep it loose. Just have that music. Jake said, "I have a hand, and I doubt the count is even real for the amount of times you said that I actually done it." Nice. Okay, so now we're gonna we've got everything but the theater in here, and I'm gonna reference the dude I drew in the ticket booth. So I had a friend reach out to me recently because I've been watching like philosophy streams and some like debates that talk about religion, or there was a point where I was watching some stuff that had to do with like determinism. It's just stuff that I'm interested in, like weird stuff. And I had a friend reach out to me and was asking if there were good um, Christian apologist that he could check out. He's a atheist, and he wasn't like wanting to be converted or anything. It was more just like, I think he was fascinated by the idea that there might be decent debaters that are Christian that might be able to make a decent case. And what's sad is I thought about it, and I was like, maybe there's like 3 people I can think of. There weren't a lot. I was like, I could name you like a ton of people that I really enjoy and are intellectually like pretty incredible that are atheists, but I can't really list a ton that are Christian. Not the, I mean, they exist, but it was funny to me that that was actually a hard question to answer. You'd think like, since that's one of my philosophies, even though like my conclusions from it aren't the mainstream or whatever, but you would think that when you have a philosophy, you'd have a lot of good spokespeople for it. And it's like, at least for people currently alive, there really there really weren't that many. At least that I was aware of. Where is that theater? I need that theater. I had it pulled up and then it disappeared. Let me see. Yeah, Jake was like, we got to go back a few years. Yep. All right, so we're gonna have our we're closer in. So at this point, it's like it's gonna be at an interesting angle where it's closer in. It has these kind of tilting walls. There's going to be the so we're much closer, so this pillar is going to be huge. Not that huge, but I think I need to kind of rethink that pillar. But yeah, it was one of those funny moments of then again, I mean, I think like there are yeah, debate is a really interesting thing. And I can kind of see what burns people out on it, because when you study logic for a little bit, you start learning like different fallacies and different issues with like logical problems or like contradictions, the problem of contradiction, right? And it's like you'll notice like there's guys that are really rhetorically effective at debate, but they're logically super incoherent. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. So like the more it's like that, that idea of like the more you learn, the more you're kind of unhappy. That happens a bit with logic, where it's like the more you kind of read on it, the more you catch like people using really faulty logic. And I'm not calling myself like a king of logic or anything, but it's just one of those things of the little that I've read of it, it really does make it clear when there's some people who are just kind of very good at playing the game and like getting the crowd and being rhetorically compelling, but are not making any sense. Yeah, using persuasion to cover up for poor logic chains, exactly. And I'm sure I've by accident probably used persuasion to cover poor logic. I think it's kind of human nature. Persuasion is a huge part of debate. It's a huge part of mock trial too. When I took mock trial years, like 20 years ago or whatever, over 20 years ago, a big part of life is persuasion. I mean, if you read How to Win Friends and Influence People, a lot of that's persuasion. Um, but it is one of those sad things, is like the more you learn, the more you're like, wow, I'm not super impressed. Even though I'm impressed by the rhetoric, the actual backing of like A plus B equals C is not there. So it's like that, like a sound argument has not been presented. I like that. Jake was saying, rhetoric is the art of persuasion, as my teacher persuaded me to believe. Jake said, helps being charismatic and having good looks. Yeah, that's the problem. I definitely don't have the looks. All right, guys. I actually do not believe it, but we actually did it. This is the first time where I was like, this will just take a little bit of time, and guess what? It did. So let me zoom out, try to give you guys a decent view. Let's see. I'll move this up so you guys can see a little better. So that's the page we finished. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. And I'll be live streaming again probably tomorrow. So I guess we'll play that music as we round out the day, because it's fun. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. All right, guys. So that thanks for hanging out in the chats. Thanks for participating. Thanks to Jimmy and Jake Twister. And we finished the rough for page 78. So tomorrow we'll start breaking down and working on rough for page 79 on our pointlessly hard quest to finish graphic novels. Nice. And then Dee Dee said good morning. Scrolled back to hear updates. Have a great day. Have a great day, Dee Dee. And if you guys are up, watch Dee Dee's live stream. I believe, Dee Dee, are you live streaming today? I think you would be, probably this morning. Yeah, and if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. And we will continue and finish this comic. And I hope you guys had a good night or morning. And we'll proceed forward and get more art done. Okay, Dee Dee said Monday and Wednesday. So tomorrow, check it out. All right, guys. Well, with that being said, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for supporting my channel. It's really appreciated. And thanks for keeping me company while I finished up this rough. And I am eager to get more done tomorrow. See you guys next time. Bye.